Welcome to Elevate, a podcast where we sit down with the women shaping workplace culture as some of the biggest names in the business. These are the leaders navigating change, putting people first, and keeping teams connected and engaged every single day. Elevate is brought to you by Line Zero, a global employee experience consultancy firm that partners with organizations to create connected workplaces. Tune in to learn how today's leaders are breaking barriers and building cultures where employees truly thrive.
I am your host, Joy Fajardo. Welcome back to Elevate. Our guest today, Angelina Algranti, has led HR across completely different worlds: a TV network, a manufacturing floor, one of Canada's largest public housing corporation, and CNIB, one of the most recognized charities in Canadian history. Now, most people leaders find their lane and stay there, but she kept moving. She joined Vision Loss Rehabilitation Canada, a publicly funded health services organization spun out of CNIB in 2017. Today, she leads people and culture for certified specialists across the country, helping people reclaim their independence. Angelina, welcome to Elevate. I'm really glad you're here with us today.
Thank you, Joy, for having me. I have to admit, this is my first podcast and I'm slightly nervous. I hope they stay and listen to this podcast all the way through.
I know you'll do great, Angelina. All right, so let's get into it. TV, manufacturing, public housing, CNIB, and now an organization that helps people with vision loss reclaim their independence. The common thread is that the stake is getting higher every time. Was that intentional? What was pulling you forward?
So I have to admit, it wasn't intentional. So I actually started my career journey in a different side of healthcare. So I actually went to dental school. My parents thought that being a dental hygienist would be a great career for me. So I was fortunate to get accepted into dental school, and I spent one semester at George Brown College. Very shortly, I realized that this wasn't for me. I realized the importance of doing something for yourself, keeping yourself motivated, doing something that really resonates with who you are. So unfortunately, I didn't continue with my studies in dental school, and I decided to start working full time, save money for tuition, and enrolled in human resource studies. I enjoy people. I'm a people's person. The HR world has always really interested me. No 2 days are ever the same, whether I was working in retail or I was working in customer service for a brokerage firm. I found the best part of it was dealing with the people. So I knew that HR was my path. Like you mentioned, I started in broadcasting. Shortly thereafter, I moved into manufacturing for several years, and then I moved into the public sector. I was with Toronto Community Housing for 6 years, and then joined Vision Loss Rehab, or CNIB group of companies, in 2019. And to be completely honest, the initial draw wasn't because of the organization. It was just the next step in my career progression. However, shortly thereafter, after I had the opportunity to fully integrate myself with the organization and learn about the important work that we do for blind Canadians or partially sighted Canadians and their families, I grew really quite close to the cause. And that's what's kept me here over the course of the last 7 years. I've been fortunate to grow in various roles, and I'm deeply connected to the organization, our mission, and the important work that our staff is doing every single day.
It's really an amazing journey for you because, doing what you love to do while also serving your people, like internally and your clients as well. It's just a very fulfilling job. So I really love the journey there. Now, establishing culture in an organization that is spread across the country in a very specialized healthcare context. How do you even start? What's the approach when there's no inherited playbook?
You start by listening and resisting the urge to impose policies on individuals. So we do a lot of co-design work with our staff, and that includes building culture. In a national organization that specialized healthcare, culture can be copied and pasted from a handbook, right? I strongly believe that it has to be co-created with our staff. Our approach was to anchor culture in 3 things: the client experience, what people with vision loss actually need from us, the employee reality, different regions, roles, and professional identities, and behaviors, not slogans. How work gets done when no one is watching. Instead of asking what culture do we want, we ask what behaviors must be true in what we're going to serve and what our clients need. I think I'm such a big believer in leading by example. So if we are trying to create a culture of accountability, ensuring that I'm also demonstrating those skills. So being held being accountable to the things that I say that I'm going to do. And if I'm not able to meet expectations and I fall short, being accountable to let individuals know when I may not be able to meet a deadline or when something that I said that I'm going to do simply can't be done.
I'm taking notes. So, folks who are listening, I hope you are too. I'm hearing so first, listen, and co creation is a big thing for me. I think that's one of the takeaways because culture is not a program that you launch, it's something that you co create with your people. And you have to really find what your organization culture is and then protect it. And another thing is accountability. That's a big thing. Taking accountability for what you have promised to deliver and making sure that you communicate if that promise cannot be met is really important because that then goes to trust. So I really love that you mentioned that. I wonder,
Absolutely.
so VLRC, it's spread across Canada. Is that accurate?
Correct.
With teams spread across multiple provinces, how do you actually make it feel consistent? So, say, for example, how do you make someone in Calgary feel connected to someone in Halifax or something like that? Or is that even necessary?
It is. And we create lots of opportunities. Like, again, co designing and leading by example and starting at the top. So, if we are implementing a new process or a policy change, ensuring that individuals at the top, so our executive leadership team, is aware of those policies, changes, or processes at the beginning. That way, when we roll it out to our staff, the frontline staff, they are well versed and familiar with that policy or process change and are able to eloquently explain the reason for the change, what the policy may have looked like before and what it looks like now, and the rationale for it. So providing individuals with the tools to be able to answer questions is quite important. We also provide opportunities for colleagues to meet across the country. So we have national meetings monthly. We have a national managers meeting where everyone in the same discipline, people leaders, come together for upwards of an hour or two. And they share their insights with respect to some things that they are working on and an approach that they took to resolve a problem. So that way, if a colleague in Calgary is dealing with an issue that someone else has previously dealt with and resolved in Halifax, they are able to lean on the expertise of those individuals from that meeting and learn from them, adapt their practice and put it into play with their particular issue in their province. We also have town halls where we share information to ensure that everyone is hearing the same message at the same time. So there's a lot of we've created a lot of opportunities for staff to come together. We host in-person training sessions for professional disciplines. Again, and that can mean anything from training courses on emotional intelligence to our refresher on their Microsoft Office skills. So providing lots of opportunities for collaboration across the country.
You talked about keeping a distributed team connected and building culture across geography. So, definitely the tools and the platforms you use really matter. What does VLRC actually use to keep employees informed and engaged? And can you give us some tips? Like, whenever you're evaluating any type of technology related to employee experience, internal comms, what are you looking for? What would you recommend our listeners to look for? What's the difference between something that works versus something that really gets adopted?
The key for us when, I guess, quote unquote, shopping for new tools or considering new tools, whether they be communication tools, a new payroll tool, new email device or whatnot, is accessibility. Similarly, 15% of our workforce is blind or partially sighted, and we need to ensure that those staff have the same access to our systems as everyone else. So whichever product we are considering, we need to ensure that everyone has access to it. Approximately 4 years ago, we made the decision to implement an employee recognition platform. When making that decision, one of our non negotiables, of course, like I just stated, was to ensure that whatever platform we decided to go with was accessible. That meant we met with 16 different vendors to test out their products. At the end of the day, we decided to go with Awardco, but that is a key consideration for us. Is again, access. Access may look different for you and I than it does for other individuals. So we can have individuals come in and consult on the system and test it out to ensure that every employee of VLRC has access to that system.
Your clients are people with vision loss. That means when you're designing internal communications, building out the employee experience, thinking about how information flows through your organization, you can't have a gap between what you preach externally and how you operate internally. What does that pressure do to how you think about people work? What does it force you to consider? What do you think most HR leaders are just not thinking about?
The pressure is real, and I think it should be. If we advocate for accessibility externally, but tolerate barriers internally, employees see the disconnect immediately. It forces us to think beyond policy into experience design. How is the information being consumed? What assumptions are baked into our processes? Where are we unintentionally potentially excluding employees? I think what many HR or people and culture leaders don't consider is that accessibility isn't just about a disability. It's about cognitive load, clarity, and dignity. When you design access, you get better systems for everyone. VLRC doesn't let us forget that. So this is a key, like I said in the question earlier, ensuring that our product, whatever products we go with, is accessible to everyone is a key factor when we're considering new systems. And again, it makes it that much easier for everyone. You'd be surprised to see that there are still several sites, government sites included, that are not accessible with JAWS or Zoom text. And that's unfortunate.
And the thing about that is the second that there is a gap, the second your internal systems don't reflect your external mission, people will feel it and they start to lose trust. Right. And I think a lot of organizations would say, they care about accessibility. And as you mentioned, unfortunately, even for government websites, it's actually lacking that accessibility still. What changed for you personally when you moved into this environment? Like, did it immediately reframe how you saw the work?
Absolutely. I also have such a great deal of respect. It really opened up my eyes. When I first started at CNIB, I came into the workspace and there were several staff that had guide dogs. And I had never previously worked in an environment where staff brought dogs to work. I mean, this isn't just a typical dog, it is a guide dog. So it's used as a tool for individuals with vision loss. It really opened up my eyes and my perspective on the capacity of individuals with that may be living with a disability. I really admire their strength, their resiliency. They can do anything that anyone else can do. And it really made me look at things differently for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. So, moving on. Can you give me a concrete example? Something that VLRC does internally. It can be a practice, a decision, or how you run communications or build a process that directly reflects that accessibility first thinking. And then thinking from another HR leader's perspective, um, totally different organization, someone with no vision loss clients, no specific disability mandate. What can they learn or steal from that?
So, as the lead of people and culture for Vision Loss Rehab, I have several vendors, whether I'm at conferences or simply on LinkedIn reaching out to me to, quote unquote, test out their products or learn a bit about them. One of the things that if I make the decision to take that call or research a bit more or find out a bit more about their product, one of the first questions that I ask is whether or not their system, software, whatever it may be that they're trying to sell or promote to us is accessible. because that's not non-negotiable for us. If their systems are not fully accessible, then we won't consider implementing them. And I don't think that this is a question the VLRC needs to ask because a percentage of our workforce is blind or partially sighted. I think everyone should be asking this question because at any point you can have talent come into your organization that may not have their full sight, but they're able to perform the requirements of the position that they apply for, and you should welcome that. They can only do so if they have the right tools in place, and that means ensuring that they have access to programs that are fully accessible.
I love that. Overall, it's just good design, right? Starting from the question of, is this tool accessible? Are what we doing accessible? Just by thinking, keeping that in mind is already like a very big step because most of us forgot to even ask. So thank you for reminding us that, Angelina. This takes me somewhere I haven't gone yet because if the way you design your internal experience is shaped by who you serve, I want to ask about who's actually doing that work inside VLRC. You mentioned already about how many percent of your employees are with partial vision loss or disability.
Yes. So we've got a mandate to, I think our mandate is probably closer to 20%, but we are at 14% of our workforce has lived experience. And that's in various positions. We have individuals at the quote unquote front lines providing services who have sight loss. We have individuals in management roles with sight loss and at the executive leadership level as well. So all across the organization, in different provinces, different positions, we do have individuals with lived experience.
And what does it mean for people and culture when some of your employees actually have the shared lived experiences with the people that you serve? Is that an advantage for you?
I would say so, absolutely. Leading on their experience as well as, like we just talked about, not only their work experience, but lived experience and building systems that would make things easier for both them and our clients is really important. So having their insights and perspective is key for the success of this organization.
Exactly. I can imagine that changes things you wouldn't expect, like how you run a meeting, how you onboard someone, what a great employee experience even looks like. All of that will be affected in a very positive way by having people who have those shared lived experiences with the people that you serve. Is that something that you came into this role that you already think about it, or did the job kind of teach it to you?
It's not something that I was familiar with. Like I said, when I first, I touched on how I first came into the offices and saw guide dogs. I didn't even know the proper etiquette for guide dogs. So you see a golden retriever walking around the office with, guiding a staff. And I'm someone that grew up with a golden retriever. So I'm inclined to bend down to their level and start petting them. But that's absolutely not something that you can do. A guide dog is actually working and guiding the individual that is with them. So by bending down and petting them, you're actually distracting them from the very important work that they are doing with their handler. So it was a very interesting environment to come into, and I had to learn a lot, and I'm so grateful for that. I think the experience of this organization and the uniqueness is skills that I will carry forever and things that I will always consider, right? As an HR professional, I don't think accessibility was as top of mind as honestly it should be. And now having this experience and working for this organization, something that I value a great deal. And I'm glad that I have the opportunity to be here today to hopefully be listened to by other HR professionals that are able to adapt similar practices, right? When meeting with vendors, asking them those questions. Are your tools fully accessible? Because you may not have a blind or partially sighted staff today, but you may have one in the future. And again, you want to make sure that system access looks the same for all of your staff, despite what disability they may be living with.
You are in a very unique position where you always have it on top of mind. And when you have it on top of mind, you can really be a very great advocate for everything you're working on. And so this podcast is really a good awareness for others, a good reminder, tap in the shoulder to think more and more about it. And as you said, other HR leaders can also adapt and practice the same way that you guys are doing. So it's really amazing. Now, I'm going to pivot a bit. I want to ask you about being a woman in this field. You're in a senior people role at a mission driven organization, and that all sounds like, it's a natural fit. But getting there still has some friction for sure, for most women, especially. What has that friction actually looked like for you? And what do you think is still broken, if any?
I think overall, I think it's still difficult for women to get into certain sectors or to be seen as um leaders of an organization. I'm very fortunate to work for a female CEO, which I think is incredible. I'm fortunate that I'm in HR, which is predominantly female. So I don't feel like we are faced with as many stereotypes as other industries. But I do believe that there are still barriers. I think that there are certain stereotypes associated with whether or not females are making decisions with their emotions and whether or not those decisions are in the best interest of the organization, like those stereotypes. I think that women have done a great job in breaking down those stereotypes and proving them to be wrong. But there's certainly industries, I think more so outside of HR, that are still hard for women to break through. And I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing, have women at the top, have women CEOs running healthcare organizations of 300 plus employees, have them at the top of marketing teams or finance teams, et cetera, and show everyone that we can do it just like anyone else and break down those barriers and prove individuals wrong.
I love that. And that is what this podcast is for. This is to elevate other women who are very early in their career, mid of their career, who are already up there, to really hold the door open for the other women to have seat at the table, to be in the room, to be part of the conversation. Now, the structural stuff that we talked about. Fortunately, I feel that's going to be more complicated, not just because of people, not just because of being women, but because there's a new variable in all of this that's moving so fast. Of course, I won't let you go without talking about AI. It's reshaping HR faster than a lot of people expected, and it's honestly faster than a lot of organizations are ready for. For a people leader at a specialized healthcare organization, where do you actually see it helping, and where does it worry you?
So, like many others, I feel like I'm a little bit aged in saying this, but I'm still very much learning about AI and all of the opportunities that it can provide. I think AI has enormous potential to remove administrative burden, improve insights, and free up people teams to focus on judgment-based work, as things such as coaching, change management, ethics, etc. But in a healthcare adjacent mission driven organization, the risks are just as significant. Bias, privacy, over automation, and the temptation to replace thinking with tooling is still very much present. I think the opportunities for, again, to alleviate some of that administrative burden exist, and that'll give us time to be more strategic in the decisions that we make moving forward, and maybe even the opportunities that exist. Maybe by taking away the administrative burden of having to fill out a report after seeing each client will allow you the opportunity to see twice as many clients on any given day. So I guess in short, my answer is still a lot to be learned, but I think the opportunities are there and we have to embrace them. And I think AI is very much like a muscle. You have to build it up in order for it to continue to get stronger and stronger. So we have to use it, apply it in our everyday work, and just make decisions with respect to where it best fits in and makes sense.
I know that you're still kind of learning through it, but right now, do you draw a line? Like, okay, we can only use AI up until this point, or how do you kind of differentiate what can AI be used for versus let's not definitely use AI for this for now? Do you have that kind of thinking for now?
So I do. I mean, I don't use AI for anything legal related. I still very much lean on the legal experts to provide us with a legal opinion. So I won't be, provide AI with any confidential information and ask them to formulate a legal opinion for me. I think that that is still quite risky. For me personally, I'm very mindful of the erosion of critical thinking skills. So I try to, although I just said like it's like building a muscle and you have to use it in order for it to get stronger, I don't want to lose my thinking skills. So sometimes when I'm in receipt of a report or if I'm asked to generate some information, I do the work myself first. So if I'm in receipt of a report and I'm asked to provide input on it, I will review the report first to provide my insights, and then I may run it through AI to be like, did I miss anything? Is there something else that I should consider? But I want to ensure that I'm doing the work first. So again, I'm not losing those critical thinking skills that I've worked pretty hard again, not using it for anything confidential or seeking any legal opinions. So those are kind of the guardrails that I have put in for myself thus far.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all those with us, Angelina. What I keep coming back to after this conversation is that, Angelina didn't just build a career in people and culture. She really built a point of view, one that got sharper in every industry that she moved through. And it hits its clearest form at an organization where the people you serve set the standard for how you treat your own people internally. It's not just a philosophy that you read in a book. That's really something that you earn over time.
People are the number one asset of any organization. Whether you're building gadgets or you're providing services to clients who are blind or partially sighted, people are a number one asset. For when I started in this career over 20 years ago, I was always told that HR is a cost center. We don't generate revenue, we cost money. And, there wasn't always this collaborative approach, or there wasn't a huge focus on people. It was more about like getting people in to do the work and then getting them in and getting them out type of thing. I think we've made such significant strides with respect to really valuing the individuals that are coming to our organizations and helping them move forward. And that's anything from putting a huge focus on culture and who we want to be to implementing various wellness initiatives. People are a number one asset. And I think keeping that top of mind for any HR professional and when they're making decisions is ultimately the key to their success. Now, I'm not suggesting that those decisions are always easy. But yeah, they're the ones that are driving the operations forward. They are the ones that are generating revenue for the organization. Taking a step back and asking yourself what's best and what's most important for our people is vastly is key to the success of any organization, in my opinion.
Thank you, Angelina. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave our listeners with that we haven't gotten to yet, or anything you'd like to promote?
No, I'm always happy to, even 20 years into this career, I still very much rely on my mentors to provide me with feedback, to allow me the opportunity to bounce ideas off them. So, I mean, the only thing that I would offer to individuals that are considering starting this career or need someone listen to them is just myself. Like reach out to me. I guess whether it's via email or on LinkedIn, I am happy to provide any type of mentorship support or simply be a listening ear to anyone that may be considering this as a possible career option.
That is a very generous offer, Angelina. I know that some of our audience will definitely take you up on that. I will add your LinkedIn link to the page of this podcast for easier reference to our listeners. But yeah, thank you so much, Angelina. I really appreciate you being here and being so open about the real stuff. To our listeners, if today got you thinking about how your organization connects with its people, how you communicate, how you build culture that will help your employees do their best work, Line Zero can help you figure out what's next. To our podcast listeners, we offer a personalized employee experience assessment where our consultants will spend real time with you and your team to understand your employee experience ecosystem and the specific challenges you're navigating. You can learn more at line0.com. The link is in the description. And as I've mentioned earlier, give Angelina a follow on LinkedIn. I will add her LinkedIn link in the page. She's worth adding to your feed for sure. And of course, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Line Zero for more conversations from the women who are transforming employee experience. Until then, keep elevating, keep inspiring, and let's keep building workplaces where people truly thrive.